Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Thursday, August 4th, the whole meeting of the Administrative Committee to order at 6:02 p.m. Start with roll call. Carl Johnson here. Sherry Gieske.
Here.
Dave Wiltsey.
Here.
Ray Larson.
Here.
Brent Mueller.
Here.
Ed Curry is out. Tom Wahlberg.
Here.
Elisa Patterson. Bill Robertson.
Here.
Sherry Bartelt.
Here.
Rodney Riley.
Here.
Freddie De La Trinidad.
Here.
Next, I'd ask for we don't have any minutes, so I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Mueller, second by Mr. Larson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Do we have any public comment in the room? We did receive one email. Everyone should have a copy of that letter on the desk. I asked, the individual is actually here. They were going to make a public comment. They're not going to make that public comment, and they just asked that everybody please recognize this letter and take a look at it in your t-shirt. That'll be on board docs also, won't it? Yeah, okay. So anybody, public can see it. Monthly presentations, the sheriff is not here, or let me step back here. Mr. Curry's not here. He is out of town, so I'll be running this one for him. Safety, the sheriff emailed that he would not be here tonight. He did present a, whatever you want to call it, presentation or report. There you go. If anybody has any questions, please direct those to him, I guess. Next up, highway. Is Justin here on the line? Nope. So, two quick ones. Quarterly department presentations. State's attorney. Ms. Smith is out of town, so.
Yes, Trisha's on vacation tonight, so you all get me. Trisha has a report on board docs. She just asked me to sort of highlight a couple of areas of her report. In May, Trisha updated you regarding the fact that our office is now providing e-discovery to the public defender's office and to defense attorneys. What that means is instead of giving those attorneys police reports, other documents on jump drives and CD-ROMs, we're now transferring all of that information electronically. We're attempting to. We're still working out the kinks. With the advent of body cameras, the Belvedere Police Department, all of our patrol officers now have body cameras with BPD, and the Sheriff's Department and Illinois State Police will be getting those cameras shortly. So that has increased significantly the amount of data that has to be transferred. When our officers respond, that body camera respond to a call, that body camera gets turned on. And oftentimes, if it's a significant call, you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 officers, a sergeant respond to that call. That's hours and hours and hours of body camera footage that not only needs to all be reviewed by somebody in our office, but all of that body camera footage needs to be provided to any defense attorneys. So we are working with IT, Sheriff's Department to talk about what we need to do to be able to store and transmit that volume of data. And obviously there will probably be some expense involved with that. Government agencies aren't particularly known for having the most up-to-date high-tech equipment. So what we have is running a little slow. It's taking our attorneys a really long time to download it. It's glitchy when they try to watch it because we just don't have the bandwidth in order to properly do that. So you'll be hearing about this more from Trisha and probably the sheriff on behalf of IT as we go along. The second update Trisha gave you, we just finished a murder trial. It was a bench trial, which means a jury did not try the case. It was tried by Judge Tobin. The defendant elected to have the case, or by a judge instead of a jury. We actually received the verdict on that today. He was found guilty, 1 count of first-degree murder. This was a case that happened, I think, in 2018 or 19 up in Capron. It was an attempted murder-suicide, but the defendant survived. So he was found guilty. He will be sentenced in September. The sentencing range on that is 20 to 60 years. And then the third update Tricia had, our longtime administrative assistant in the state's attorney's office, Wendy Rowe. She retired a week or two ago. She had been with the state's attorney's office. She was hired by Roger Russell. I'm sure it's a familiar name to some of you in this room. That was quite a while ago. So we're very appreciative of Wendy and her work. Her son Darren is actually the sergeant of detectives in the Boone County Sheriff's Office. So kept their law enforcement work in the family, and we're going to miss Wendy a lot. We hired Kelsey Edwards from the circuit clerk's office. Kelsey's worked for the county for a number of years. She's a really great hire for us. She's obviously familiar with the courthouse and with the legal system. So she's kind of just jumped in with both feet and is trained and ready to go. And we're really excited to have Kelsey. One final little piece of information or sort of update that Tricia and I thought that I could give you tonight, because it's something that I do in our office and we haven't really told you much about this function of our office, is the status of civil asset forfeitures. When I talk about civil asset forfeitures, what that means is when people commit certain crimes, there are statutes that allow the state to seize property that may be related to those crimes. And there are three different ways we can do that. Those happen in drug cases, those happen in money laundering cases, and those happen in there are specified crimes that you commit that allow us to seize assets that might be related to those crimes. The drug cases are probably the ones that are most familiar to people. If someone is pulled over with indicia of selling drugs in their car, so they not only have drugs, it's more than for personal use. You see baggies, you see scales, you see signs that they're selling drugs. That's possession with intent to deliver. That's a felony. We can seize cash that we find on that person or in their car. We can seize vehicles if the defendant owns that vehicle. We can seize phones. We can seize things that are obviously proceeds of drug money. There's a process that we have to go through in order to keep those items. Eventually, it needs to, there are a couple different ways that we can do it, but we need to show probable cause in order to seize those items. And then to be able to keep those items, we need to show by a preponderance of the evidence that those items were used to purchase the contraband, that they were proceeds from sale of contraband, that they are related to the sale of drugs. Money laundering is kind of an interesting one. The typical way we forfeit under the money laundering statute is not when the car is coming back from Chicago to Minneapolis on 90 with the drugs in the car. We typically use the money laundering statute when that car is coming down from Minneapolis to Chicago with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in the car in cash. So what happens in those cases is that these people are pulled over for a traffic violation. The officer smells marijuana. They see indications that this person is making a drug run. They are trained. Rental vehicles are a sign. The fact that when the officer asks them what their travel plans are, they don't have a really good, it's not like, wife and kids and I are going into Chicago for the weekend. We're going to this. Very vague on travel plans. That the drug dog hits. So ISP has officers who have drug dogs with them, and they can run that dog around the car as long as they are not lengthening the length of the traffic stop in order to do so. If the drug dog hits on the car, they can search the vehicle. Once you search the vehicle, you find $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in cash, rubber banded. Then they start asking the person driving the car, what's going on with this cash? What are you doing? Where are you going? Where did it come from? Do you have anything to indicate that what you're telling me is true? I don't know how many of you walk around with $20,000, $30,000, $10,000 in cash on you, but if you did, you probably would be able to easily show, hey, I just sold this vehicle to my brother-in-law, here's the bill of sale, here's his phone number, you can call him. Not surprisingly, most of the time, people can't provide any indicia that this money was gained through a lawful means. So that money is seized. I think our largest one since I've been doing this was $62,000 in cash. We forfeited that money. I believe it's 62.5% of the amount seized goes to the seizing agency. So if it's ISP, they get that cut. If it's Boone County, they get the 62.5%. Our office gets 12.5%. And then 12.5% goes to the appellate prosecutor's office, and 12.5% goes to the Illinois State Police because they're the ones that administer the forfeiture program. The third way we can seize items through civil asset forfeiture, they're called Article 36 cases. The vast majority of the time, those cases are always vehicles. So under the Article 36 cases, it's only vehicles. Most of the time, those are driving offenses. Driving while suspended for an underlying DUI, getting a DUI while you're suspended for an underlying DUI, third offense or above DUI. Those all make sense. If you are driving under the influence, you're doing it multiple times, you're doing it while you're suspended, we don't want you to have a means to keep doing that. Clearly, you're not learning your lesson. You can't seize vehicles for a first offense DUI, you can't seize vehicles for a second offense DUI, but if you're doing it time and time again, we want to get those vehicles away from you. You shouldn't be driving anyway. So the money that our office gets for the civil asset forfeitures, we can use for drug education training. We use it to send our attorneys to seminars. Virtually all of the attorneys in our office deal with drug cases in one way or the other. So that money goes to pay for continuing education. It can be used to support our office's drug enforcement and prosecution cases. We've used it to buy office equipment, laptops for ASAs, other office equipment. We're not allowed to use it for salaries and benefits, but we are allowed to use it to supplement the budget that the county board provides to us. So the amount that our office gets from that varies. It can be anywhere between $5,000 and $20,000 a year. It just really varies. So that's sort of a little snapshot of one of the things I do as the civil ASA in the office that we haven't talked to you guys much about. So does anyone have any questions about anything I've shared?
Mr. Wiltsey?
On the body cam issue, did I understand you that, let's say, for example, it's a 1 hour incident and there's 3 officers and a sergeant, somebody reviews all 4 hours of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if there's not an incident at all?
Oh, no.
Oh, only if there's an incident of some sort that...
Yeah, if there's a if something is charged from that incident, then somebody from our office will view all 4 hours of that, probably multiple times.
All right, so that when they go to prosecution, they know what really went down. Okay, thank you.
Further questions for State Attorney's Office? Thank you, Carl. Next up, Public Defender, Ms. Cross.
Right. You guys hear me? Yep. All right, perfect. So our office has been incredibly busy over the last quarter. As you know, since December, 3 attorneys in the office have been taking on extra work in order to cover the work of 4 attorneys. And then during this quarter, our attorneys have had more trials than normal. So I've been proud of everybody in the office for hanging in there while we're still working short-staffed. So we are incredibly excited to have our new attorney starting on Monday. Her name is Brenna Tinsley. She graduated from law school at Loyola New Orleans in May, and she took the bar exam last week. She'll be training in traffic court. Eventually, she'll be handling traffic, DUI, and then half of the criminal misdemeanor call. We're pretty excited to have our office fully staffed. That'll allow me to reassign cases and give us all more sustainable caseloads. In other big news, we do have fully functioning air conditioning in our office now.
Bigger
Yeah.
news.
I think I've been counting, so we had 26 days since May that our office had no air conditioning whatsoever. Many of those were during the extreme heat days. We are on the top floor of the bank building and the windows don't open. So on the hot days, we've been working in pretty miserable conditions, and I'm really proud of the staff for sitting it out. We did have a staff meeting at Culver's one day just to. In the last quarter, another big change is the shift in how we're receiving discovery. Carla already covered a lot of that. Due to that transition, the immediate impact is that our office paper, copier, and ink budget's going to increase. We will be printing our police reports from our office. We used to receive copies from the state, but now we'll be printing them ourselves. But for the longer term, we do need to find solutions for downloading, storage, and then long-term storage requirements that come along with the videos. We don't have the enormous space that it's going to take on our computers or on our hard drive or our server at the office. We also have an issue that we have to deal with. Even if we do find suitable storage and it's in the office, we have to be able to bring those videos to our clients that are in custody, so they're able to watch the videos. So we're trying to think of a solution that allows for that. Also, as the state's office alluded to, we don't have the most updated equipment, so it does take a lot of time to download and save. So we do need to find a solution on how to download and watch, to make them downloaded and watchable. It doesn't take a lot of time away from the attorneys that are already really busy with their caseloads. My immediate solution, I think, will be getting external hard drives for each attorney. That will allow us to download onto a large external hard drive, and then we would be able to take those to the jail for clients to watch. But looking into the future, we do need to consider computer upgrades, long-term digital storage solutions, and then ways to organize and delete that video when it may be appropriate. So while we've been setting up our new attorney and discussing those storage solutions with IT, we've also been doing some planning with IT for some updates that will make information at our office a little more safe and secure. And then I guess finally, over the last few months, we have had a chance for all of the attorneys in our office to go to continuing legal education conferences. Attorney Schmidt and Turek went to Springfield for the Public Defender Conference in May. And in June, I was able to spend 4 days in Iowa City at a Capitol Defense seminar. It has been nice to finally go back to some in-person learning opportunities and skills training. So I think that covers the main points in our office. If anyone has any questions.
Skiski?
Maybe I include Dan in this. What remedy are we going to find for the air conditioning?
Good question. I think it's fixed now.
It did get fixed, as Kate mentioned. We are looking at ways to make sure that the county, that there's a remedy for that. We have a lease with the landlord, I believe a 2-year lease. I forget the details. We looked at it a couple weeks ago here now, but we will look at it and update.
Okay.
Something that we would love to be able to have space that county facility for the public defender's office, so that we don't need to rent. And so that's something that we're constantly kind of thinking about, and hopefully this might be further reason to move that forward. So.
Mr. Wiltsey?
Just a quick question. I'm curious. Do you have the same requirements for CLE, continuing legal education, of 30 hours every 2 years that regular members of the bar do?
Yes.
And then, of course, you would go to extra seminars for background and boosting background.
Yeah. We do try to focus. I know the attorneys in our office try to focus our CLEs to criminal related CLEs. And then especially the PD conferences, the public defender conferences are twice a year, and they're very helpful because they're aimed exactly at public defender work. So we try to for those as often as we can.
Thank you.
Anything further? Ms. Kieske?
As the state's attorney's office looks at ways for helping with this storage and all this kind of stuff, Does that include, this is probably none of my business, but does that include a comprehensive view for the public defender's office too?
So,
Okay.
yeah, I think Tricia, any meetings that you guys were gonna have, we were gonna have together. And then Tricia and I sat down last week and talked some about it. And I know IT has had discussions with both of us. So yeah, we're kind of working on it jointly.
I figured that.
Yeah, it's
Thank
a
you.
lot of the same problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, probation, Ms. Gallo.
Good evening. As I have noted in my narrative for the county board, we had been fully staffed up until about 2 months ago, and we lost an employee. We are now again fully staffed, which has been nice. She started on Monday, Caitlin Dovenmill. She is a Boone County resident, born here, went to school here, and has returned back from Florida to come work in Boone County. She's very excited to be with us. We're excited to have her. As noted in the narrative, our grant was renewed for the drug court program, the adult redeploy. It runs on the state fiscal year, so we were executed the funds and can start spending them as of July 1st. Something I did not note in my narrative was we are working with other stakeholders, the state's attorney's office, the public defender, the judicial branch, sheriff's department, police department, and the jail on what the Pretrial Fairness Act is going to look like come January 1st. There will be a lot of changes for all of us at that time, so we're trying to work through that now. No set answers yet, but starting to make some progress. So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Questions? You got it easy. Thank you. And finally, Circuit Court, Ms. Caduto.
Good evening. For our court updates, we're currently undergoing changes in our judicial staff. Starting Monday on August 8th, our civil judge has been reassigned to the Winnebago County Courthouse. Monday through Thursday, we have 3 judges on site, and on Friday, we have a 4th judge. He will now take over the civil judge's duties for the civil court. Court calls that our visiting judge heard on Fridays are now being reassigned to the other 2 judges, including our replacement judge, throughout the week. So for office updates, those changes in the staffing has also resulted in changing our court scheduling and our deputy clerk assignments. So that's all going to change starting Monday. Our staff is made up of 3 teams. We have a civil team, felony juvenile team, and traffic and misdemeanor team. Each team has been short-staffed for the past couple of months due to open positions or leave of absence. But I'm very proud of each team because they have worked together to accomplish the required daily workload. We had a new deputy clerk for the civil team that started Monday, August 1st. We are still 1 position down that we'd like to hire for the traffic side. We have a case management system, and that is provided to us by a company called Gooden. The case management system holds all of our cases. That server that runs that is reaching its end of life. We're having issues with the backup, the daily backup with tapes. And the new server is going to run approximately $35,000, which we will be paying out of our court automation fund. IBM is the preferred provider for the server from the Gooden vendor. And then the next thing that we'll have on our calendar for next year is we'll have to look at computer replacements for our deputy clerks. And that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Ms. Kieske.
Does IBM have that server?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got several other departments have put in written reports for you to look at. If you have any questions on any of those reports, please feel free to contact those departments directly. Next, I would ask for a motion to approve the claims. The understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles, Illinois Service Company, and all claims presented from Corn, Maine, and all claims submitted by the Boone County Highway Department. Bill Robertson abstains from voting on all claims presented by B. Robertson Lock Service. Motion by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Larson. Any discussion? I'd make a note. I talked with the state's attorney just briefly a little bit, a little while ago about maybe changing this abstention notice here a little bit. So I'm just going to abstain on these claims until we can get that figured out. I want to change it and tweak it a little bit for myself just to make sure everything's covered the way it should be. So I'll be abstaining on these claims. Further discussion? I'll have to do a roll call. Carl Johnson abstains. Sherry Gieske?
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey?
Aye.
Ray Larson?
Aye.
Brent Mueller?
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg?
Yes.
Bill Robertson?
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt?
Yes.
Rodney Riley?
Yes.
Freddie De La Trinidad?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, Flora Meadows, or SUP-25-2022 Flora Meadows LLC special use. And that's presentation, please. Staff presentation.
Do have a few slides so you can follow along if you like. So this site is located directly north of 2630 Spring Creek Road. In Belvedere Township, there is A1 Agricultural Preservation District, and it is an existing mobile home park, and of course the land north of that is open. The applicant is seeking a special use permit to expand the special use that's currently there, which is the mobile home park. So in this case specifically, though, the word expand is really not technically an expansion, but an existing encroachment that, again, is right there in the easement area. So the easement that's being added to the existing mobile home park is directly north of the existing mobile home park, there where you see the circle, the turnaround, if you will, of the mobile home park. So the special use is expanded technically, however, there are no new mobile homes being proposed. There's no other expansion other than an existing encroachment. So if you take a look at the overlay that I put up there, so you can see the circle drive there. To the north is where the property line is, and right above that is the easement that is being proposed. So approximately 42 feet north by 550 feet east. So it's just that section that again will be now sold to the mobile home park to become part of it. But again, this is an existing encroachment that's occurring. So there's mobile home parks that are already crossing over that line into that easement. When we look at the table of permitted uses, the mobile home park actually requires a special use permit in R1 single family residential district, which is what the easement is zoned. However, this particular use in the existing parcel, the existing mobile home park, existed prior to the zoning ordinance. Therefore, any changes must be treated like a special use permit and through this process, even though it isn't explicitly listed in our table of permitted uses 3.16.1. There's also a legal decision or opinion, I should say, that we follow that is based on this special use in particular, which does require any type of changes to go through this process and through ZBA. There were no other concerns from any other reviewing agencies. The Planning Commission did review the comprehensive plan, and this is also kind of tricky because the future intended use is kind of switched. So the easement currently is zoned single family residential. However, the comprehensive plan shows it as agriculture. The existing mobile home park is in a currently zoned agricultural district. However, the comprehensive plan is showing that as residential. So that is a note that I have made for our Planning Commission to perhaps look at into the future. However, there would be no conflicts as the future land use with future land use or the comprehensive plan, because again, it's an existing use that, again, the encroachment is existing and it wouldn't be in conflict with any agriculture or the residential district. When we look at the comprehensive plan goals and objectives, this is an existing community and existing housing that we will be maintaining. The Planning Commission did vote in favor 3-0. There was a zoning board of appeals hearing. The hearing took place on July 26th. There were some public comments that centered on what does expansion actually look like. So my notices did go out saying expansion, so a lot of people did think it was going to get larger, so it was kind of hard to explain that, but we did receive some calls as well as public comment to clarify that. So again, that there was a clarification that the easement will be added because of an existing encroachment. There were other public comment concerned about any future changes. So any future changes, again, would still require the same public hearing process, the same notices. And there were no other concerns from the zoning board. The zoning board did review the findings of fact and found that this is a proposed use that is existing. It's not a typical expansion, but again, an existing encroachment. It is a cleanup. The proposed use is not anticipated to have any negative effects on the surrounding area. Any changes, again, are required to go back to the zoning board. It is required to conform to regulations. The use would continue to be subject to the appropriate county departments, and there are no impacts expected. The site, again, is existing. It is a mobile home park, but no new mobile homes are being proposed. The zoning board recommended in favor of the findings of fact as presented 4-0. They also recommended in favor of SUP 25-2022 4-0. Staff has also a favorable recommendation. That is all from me. The applicant is here if you have any additional questions.
Questions from the board for staff, Mr. Wiltsey?
I'm looking at paragraph 7 again, which is the one that is the detailed one in the application. What's the size of the encroachment?
It's a 45 by 515 feet approximate.
45 by 150?
500.
515.
500 feet.
You can go back, sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Further questions for staff? So the applicant is here. Would the applicant like to say anything?
Right.
Natalie Barber, attorney of record for Flora Meadows. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Looks like you got it easy tonight. All right, anything further from the board? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve to send this to the full board. Motion by Ms. Gieseke, second by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to the county board 2 weeks from tonight. Thank you. Next up, I will throw this to you, Izzy. The next 2 items were withdrawn.
Yes. So yes, as you'll note, there are the next 2 items that were withdrawn. John Carson from Trajectory Energy Partners is here, and he would like to speak with you on his reasons for the withdrawal, and I believe he has a handout as well.
Yes, please, if you would. Please state your name and address into the microphone for the record, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm John Carson. I live at 355 Lincolnwood Road, Highland Park, Illinois.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman and board members, first I'll give you a letter that I put together for each of you. Our company, Trajectory Energy Partners, is an Illinois-based solar developer. We've worked on over 50 solar projects from the Rockford area to far southern Illinois. And in early June, we submitted 2 special use applications for Prairie Central Solar and Prairie North Solar. And the ZBA meeting was held on July 26th. At that ZBA hearing, we heard concerns both from the ZBA members, from community members, about a number of things about our projects. That included questions about the safety of the solar systems, particularly including around the inclusion of battery storage proposal. We heard concerns about the layout of the systems, adequate screening for neighboring properties, and impact on property values of those projects. In particular for Prairie Central, we heard concerns about the safety of where we have the proposed entrance road for the project. We heard concerns about the impact of drainage from the sites on neighboring properties. We heard concerns about the use of prime farm ground for these solar projects on both sites. We heard concerns and criticism, I would say, about the level of outreach that we did to community members and local elected officials, and a particular concern that construction jobs would not go to local community members. So because of those concerns at this time, we're withdrawing both of these projects. We are an Illinois-based company that would like to do work in Boone County in the future, but understanding these concerns, these are all issues that we would want to address before any future project. I know it's easy to stand here and make promises and commitments about future projects, but here in Boone County, our company has a particular opportunity to show our track record. We have been working with the Village of Poplar Grove on a very similar solar project for the last 4 years. That project was approved by them, and it will actually go to construction at the end of this year. So again, instead of just making commitments and promises, we hope to use that project to show how project really can be integrated into the community and supported by the community. Particularly on that project, some of these elements were covered. We worked closely with some of the neighboring landowners on how the drainage tiles would be adjusted and make sure that they continue to function properly. We'll be working with local unions to make sure that we can show that we are providing local jobs. So we have a large number of projects that we're working on this fall. There's a number of deadlines that the state of Illinois has for projects like this, and we'll be working on projects from places like Dixon to Du Quoin and all over Illinois. But we're an Illinois-based company. One thing we really try to work on is building this industry here with Illinois-based companies. And so perhaps in the future, we would like to do work in Boone County, but we note these concerns that we heard from the ZBA members and community members and would address those in any future project. I'll be happy to answer any questions now or after the meeting.
Any questions, Ms. Gieseke?
I just have a quick question. The owners of both these properties do not live in Boone County, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Next up, there are some raffles. I did not see those prior, so we'll need to get a couple people to sign those for Apex Youth Programs, Youth Thunder, Youth Football and Cheer, Prairie Riders Snowmobile Club, Knights of Columbus, and the Belvedere Rotary Club Foundation. So people to sign those, that would be great. Landfill, anything?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Any other correspondence? I don't remember.
There's two. We have a biosolid application notice really from the city of Belvedere that they will be applying sludge. The address, the parcel number is there, but the address of the parcel is 1494 Church Road down in Kirkland. And then the second item for correspondence tonight is just an update to the county board that we wanted to give about the, if you remember a few months back, we talked about doing a tent at the fair for just a county, Boone County, just a general tent to be a resource for residents. And so this is a memo from the county clerk, Julie Bliss, about how that is going. And so I think we have a map here. We have a good location. So we are located directly with Grange Food on Leroy, directly across from Hamblock Ford, which is west of the Keenage Center building. And then the city of Belvedere is directly behind us. I know, as Julie mentions here, Michelle and Julie went to the fairgrounds today and got our tent, started to get that set up. There is a department head committee that was created, and they've been meeting regularly to talk about the fair preparations. We are doing sign up for fair shifts online, so people are signing up to make sure that our tent is staffed. And then, just kind of a general update about who's doing what. And I would say just a big thank you to that committee, all of those staff members that really volunteered, and they've been meeting and putting time in. And I think it'll be a good thing for the county. We have the sheriff's office there. They have a big presence, as they should. And then I think last year, we had the county clerk had a small booth in one of the buildings. I know the assessments office wanted to be at the Keenage Center last year, and that was really great. But I do think that it'll be good to have a consolidated county presence at the fair, just for people to stop in, questions. A lot of times people don't understand, what does the county do? What does the state do? What do townships do? And so just to be a resource and really be a face for people at the fair. So I think it'll be a good thing. Yeah.
Any questions, comments? Okay, Ms. Kieske?
Just a great idea, I think. Is there going to be beer in that cooler? Oh, what? It's not? Oh, darn.
Dry fair, it's a dry fair, come on.
I thought I knew that, but I thought I'd throw it out.
UCCI, Mr. De La Trinidad, I think you went to Galena. You want to give us an update? How'd it go? Did you break the course record one way or the other? You don't have to tell us which way. You can just say yes.
No comment. I was neutral.
There you go. There's still trees standing though.
Right, definitely. But no, I had a good time. Very informative meetings, very informative webinars. It's always very good to connect with people from other counties. They do government and things like that. So had a good time.
Perfect. Perfect. Any board member comments? Seeing none, I would like to ask for an executive session, just a brief one, to talk about personnel. It's not on here, so I guess I can't talk about land acquisition.
After we have the agenda,
Okay.
you have to state what.
Okay, so I'd like to talk about personnel and land acquisition briefly in a executive session. So I'd ask for a motion to approve that. Motion by Ms. Kieske, second by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion? A roll call, Carl Johnson, yes. Chair Gieske.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Brent Mueller.
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
Yes.
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Freddie De La Trinidad.
Yes.
Motion carries. We are in executive session at 6:43 PM.